to Mario Kart.
Turns out video games are actually kind of cool. Hey, howdy, how's it going? It's your girl, NakeyJakey, aka SnakeBoy229, and today I'd like to talk about video game title screens. Title screens, they're kind of a tricky thing, because while a memorable one can definitely be tied to your experience with a video game, just okay or bad one, it doesn't necessarily reflect the quality of a game's content. Like, for example, Bloodborne's title screen isn't anything amazing. I mean, it's the same still image they used to promote the game, just the basic menu, but again, that didn't stop me and countless other soul boys getting up in there to kill all the scare wolves and the spooky ghost boys. But I do think title screens have a lot of potential with different beautiful and creative ways that they can introduce and affect a player's experience with a video game. I'd like to discuss some different examples of title screens that I think, like video games, are actually pretty damn cool. Alright, now that all the introductory stuff is out of the way, let's get into the fun stuff. Strap yourselves in and come along with this ride for me. I'm sorry. So the classic format of a title screen with a flashy logo and some background animation, maybe of some gameplay, was spawned in the arcade because these games, they had to get you to spend money on them somehow. You know, they had to grab your attention. So consider the arcade cabinet with the slickest side panel and the most eye-catching title screen to be like the prettiest girl at prom. You know, everyone wants a chance to dance with the prom queen. Damn, Centipede, you're looking gorgeous. Even as home video game consoles became more popular, this sort of format for the title screen stayed largely the same, even though you had already been seduced when you purchased the damn Sega Genesis. However, that didn't stop developers from creating some really beautiful and cinematic intros to their games while still evolving this classic title screen format. That's why I love title screens from this era like Super Metroid, because while it still kind of follows that same style, it did something more cinematic and spooky, with music that perfectly matches the atmosphere set by the scene of the dead scientists. Man, I talked about Super Metroid in my box art video, I talked about it in my music video, it friggin' look out game, I'm in love with you. This cinematic intro style was expanded on in the PS1 era, with minigames booting up with a slick little CGI movie and then taking you to a simple title screen set against the flat image. It's kind of funny how that works. You get a fancy CGI movie now, but now you get a really basic title screen. Not all games were like this, obviously, but the focus was definitely shifting. However, unlike my box art video that was very much a "man, this is awesome, god damn it, now this shit sucks" sort of thing, it's not the case with title screens. They're not necessarily better or worse than they were years in the past, they're just different. I know I've been kind of following a loose timeline of title screens so far, but not anymore. Now, I just want to talk about different examples of title screens, and it doesn't matter if the game came out in 1776 or 1876. No game will be safe from my sword move. I'll be separating my examples into 4 unique categories: style/UI, or stew-eye for the layman, or stew-eye for the straight guy, for the gay man, minimalism, changing, music, and dog. Now, these aren't hard-bodied categories. There's gonna be some crossover between them. For example, most of these examples have some really bitchin' boys' night out music, but the games in the music category are just especially fantastic. Also, these are just a small offering of title screens that I chose that I thought best illustrated my points. So, your favorites, they might not be in here, and I'm sure some of you will let me know in the comments and or on Twitter, and then I'm sure others of you will disagree with that person, but then you guys will share a glass of milk and have an open mouth kiss and work it out, because that's how the internet works. Alright, everyone ready? Cool. Time to take a step aboard on my magic ride. Sorry, let's go to the first category. What I mean by style/UI or STUI for the straight guy is a title screen that uses elements or themes from its game to effectively introduce the player to the game's universe and content. A good first example of this is GoldenEye for the N64. After a real barn burner of an intro movie, we're greeted with a profile select screen. But wait, are these confidential spy files? Oh yeah, because it's a spy game where everything explodes when you shoot it, but it's a spy game? Beyond this, and I don't know if this is still title screen territory or main menu territory, but the game stays consistent with the whole Spy Kid theme, having you filter through folders as you go through menus, and even having like film reel for the level select screen. Or THPS 2, where after a sick-ass ramp sesh video with the boys, we're greeted by a skateboard wheel that spins and makes skateboard sounds because it's a game about skateboarding? What the A more recent example of STUI would be Super Hot, which is a fantastic game, by the way. If you haven't played it, definitely check it out. And not to really give away a whole lot of spoilers, but the game deals with some computer hacking type stuff. So the game boots up to an old-looking operating system, complete with sounds and click-clacks like an old computer. The immersion starts right as you boot up the game. God damn it, video games, you win again. The minimalistic approach to a title screen is basically the less is more sort of vibe, which if you saw my box art video, you know that is my jam. Subscribe, please. I love this style of title screen because it really gives the game a second to breathe and slowly get your imagination going, while also usually providing some gorgeous art or visuals to set the tone. A great example of this is The Last of Us, which, if you know what that game involves, the title offers a brief moment of peace and calm, while also being slightly unsettling in its ambiguity. Great stuff, naughty doggies, or should I say, good boys. That's right, folks. We got dog jokes, small dogs, big dogs, gay dogs, fat dogs. All dogs go to heaven. A subcategory of this minimalist category would be, I'll call it seamless, because what's more minimal than almost no title screen at all? Good example of this is Braid and Inside, where they both have their logo on the screen, but the game just starts from there. You start running to the right, it just fades away. You're in the game. Another example I would consider to be in this seamless subcategory, even though it's not exactly the same thing, would be the Grand Theft Auto trilogy on PS2. Because while these loading screens aren't technically a title screen, they are the first thing you see when you boot up the game, and they do go straight into the gameplay. And also, the artwork, oh man, son of a bitch, video games, you win again! A changing title screen is exactly what it sounds like, one that has the potential to be different when you boot up the game, usually determined by a player's saved progress. A great first example of this would be a little game called Spec Ops: The Line. This title screen changes after certain chapters in the game, and it's a really effective way to show the player's impact on the city the game takes place in. Now, not to get too spoilery, but it's really cool time-lapse sort of thing. You get to see kind of the life of a sniper up on this building. A little subcategory I want to add to this whole changing thing would be interactive, which they're title screens that change because the player changes them themselves. A great first example of what I mean by this is Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, where you have Snake doing some CQC prom dancing in the background with this guy, but you can change the colors and the speed of the fight and the angle and sort of the visual style by using the triggers and the analog sticks, by clicking the analog sticks. It's really cool. I remember when I found that out in junior high, I would always mess with it before I got into the game, and it's just a little thing, but I think it's pretty cool. Another much more obvious example for this interactive subcategory would be Super Mario 64, where it boots up to that 3D model of Mario's face, which I think was kind of Nintendo's way of showing off their Spy Kids 3D technology, but it always was really fun, pinching his cheeks and stretching his chin and pulling his hat down, and you definitely remember it, which I think is cool. And every time I boot up the game, I still mess around with his face for like a couple minutes, so if you know me even a little bit, maybe seen my other garbage videos, you know I'm a big music boy. I especially love video game music because it can be used in a lot of sweet ways, and the title screen is no stranger to the effective use of video game music. I mean, the whole reason I decided to make this video was because of Halo 2's title screen, which gave me so many goosebumps while I was editing that Halo 2 video I thought I was gonna die. For a game about so much combat and war, the title screen focuses more on another side of Halo, the more atmospheric and reflective side, a side that, along with the music, I think better represents the emotions players develop for these games than something more bombastic and explosive. God damn it, I already went through all these emotions when I was making the Halo videos. I don't need to refill all of these emotions. Another example of a title screen effectively using music is Kingdom Hearts. While this isn't the most interesting or prettiest thing to look at, the music really saves the day. I remember I used to leave my PS2 on just so I could listen to Dearly Beloved because I liked it so much. And now I've sampled that song in like 3 different of my songs. A final example of effective video game title screen I want to talk about that I consider to be immense crossover over a lot of these categories, and the series to basically be the GOAT of video game title screens would be The Legend of Zelda. From the very first game on the NES to the more recent titles, the title screens have been the creme of the creme, the cream of the crop. Although I don't know if it's necessarily my favorite game in the whole series, the title screen for Ocarina of Time has always especially stood out among a bunch of really good title screens for a couple different reasons. The great thing about the Ocarina of Time title screen is that it is a perfect evolution, again, opinions, but I think it's a perfect evolution of that classic title screen format where you have this really pretty recognizable logo in the foreground and some interesting animation or gameplay in the background, except Ocarina of Time, it captures that spirit of adventure so well with the sunrise and the music fading in and the logo slowly fading in, letting you decide whenever you want to hit start. Until it goes into the weird cutscene and stuff that you leave it on for too long. But I can still hear the sound of the press start button. Like even when I'm talking about it, I can hear the little and I can hear the music and everything that like for how big of an adventure it was at the time, and for that it still feels like when you go back and play it, that title screen perfectly sets you up for the adventure you're about to go on. And along with Super Metroid, it is up there. That is a damn good title screen. So thanks so much for watching this video. I'm surprised if you made it this far to the end. At the very least, I hope that I can get you to look at title screens a little differently. If there's something that you usually skip over, and maybe you can figure out why you like the ones that you like so much, or maybe this video is garbage and it was just me rambling for a while and it sucked. If you did like the video though, go ahead and suplex that like button. If you want to see more of this shit, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell if you want to get notified. If you like my content this much, you can support me on Patreon. Also, shout out to all my hot boys and gamer girls on Patreon. Also like to apologize for my upload schedule being kind of all over the place. All those Halo videos took like 2 weeks. This one, it's like a week and a half, and I've run into a lot of problems with files corrupting and stuff, so sorry it's taken so long. Hit me up on Twitter. Hit me up on Bebo. I think that's it. See you guys next time.